before he does that, I'm going to show you guys how to make another drink that's a little bit more difficult, has a little bit more of a learning curve, just for fun. That's going to be a whiskey sour. So for this one, you're going to need some lemon juice, some simple, and your whiskey, as well as some ice and a glass to put it in. You can also do egg white, but I kind of decided against that because it can get a little bit messy. But if you do it, it's also the most traditional way to make a whiskey sour. It gives you a lot of frothiness, which is really pleasant and really lovely. So for this one, we're going to, as I said, kind of do the opposite of what they do in Japan, which is the spirit first. So we're going to start with our cheapest ingredient, which is going to be our sugar here. So I like to do about 3/4 of a part. And if you're wondering how much that is, that's 3/4 of an ounce. And it's usually a good idea to invest in a jigger. It's probably one of the best long-term investments for your home bar. Just make sure everything is accurate. One little pro tip that I have for my whiskey sours is I like a dash of orange bitters. Just kind of adds this nice little refreshing, pleasant bitterness to the drink. And then the one thing I'm always the biggest stickler on is making sure that you use fresh lemon juice and not a sour mix. It's really easy to juice a lemon. A hand juicer is, again, like $5 in any kind of liquor store or supermarket, and it really just makes the whole drink come together really well. So again, 3/4 of a part for that one. And then finally, 2 parts of our Toki Japanese whiskey. And the reason why I like this drink is that, for Toki whiskey, is that it's essentially pretty standard, very easy to make, but it also doesn't cover up the sort of like the best qualities of the whiskey. You have the sweetness and a little bit of the dilution from the ice to kind of let the whiskey develop. You have that sourness and that freshness that really kind of brings out that hakushu, green grassy, kind of citrusy floral notes. And after you do that, you want to take some ice and add it to your tin. You get some questions from time to time about what the best kind of ice to use is. I always like to say you use like the old-fashioned kind of ice molds that maybe your grandmother had in the freezer. They're quite much better than the kind of ice machine stuff that you get out of most modern refrigerators. They're just harder, they're better to work with. You get a colder drink that's not kind of over diluted. And take your other tin. If I was super traditional, I'd be doing this with one of those cobbler shakers like they use in Japan, but you can do this with like a pint glass and a single tin. I like to do this just because it's a little bit safer, it's a little bit easier to break. And you just give it a shake. And the way to tell it when it's done is when the tin is really, really, really cold. If you need a number for that, that's probably just maybe, I don't know, 8 seconds. And then you are going to probably have to invest in a little bit of equipment. This is called a Hawthorne Strainer. Pop that onto your tin, and that'll make sure all those broken shards of ice stay out of your glass. And also buy a tea strainer or a double strainer. And those are good for when you're making things like mojitos and keep the shredded mint out of there. And that is it, guys. One whiskey sour. Easy, refreshing, delicious, and extra tasty when you're using Toki Japanese whiskey.